The live stream now.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's stop the escalate.
not seeing anything on the screen though. Should we?
Oh, beautiful backgrounds, beautiful pictures there. Oh, look at that picture now.
Okay, we are streaming. The only people we have connected right now are Brian and Tammy Derrick.
Okay. But do you all see anything on your screen from the meeting? Or are you seeing a nice display of?
I have a vase.
I have a vase too. There we go. Okay, welcome everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Finance Committee for April 4th. Bill, will you do the roll call, please?
Yep. Heniro,
Here.
Ramsey,
Here.
Kuhn,
Here.
Olson.
Here. All right, great, thank you. First item on the agenda is the minutes of the March 21st, 2023 Finance Committee meeting.
Olson will move approval.
Thank you.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes of the March 21st, 2023 Finance Committee meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Next, the audit of the bills to be paid. Bill, do you have any updates for us?
No additions tonight.
Okay, great. Can I get a motion?
Ramsey moves approval of the bills.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
Thank you both. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the audit of the bills to be paid signify by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to resolutions, we have three. The first one is Resolution 2023-19, Final Assessments for Middleton Springs Drive Reconstruction. This comes to us from Public Works.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion. To approve.
I'll second it. All right, any discussion? I had a question for Sean. Actually, I have two questions for Sean. One, will there be sidewalks all the way on this roadway? And two, can you give me a little primer on how projects get named? Because I've noticed that the projects don't match up with the project numbers in the capital budget request.
Oh, sure. So in order, the sidewalk is intended along the north side and the east side of Middleton Springs Drive, but not along the south or west sides.
Okay, thanks.
And to the second question, yes, our filing system in Public Works tends to be the year, which is the first two digits. And then we start with series one, I think it's actually 101, for project numbers within that year. So they are different than the PWPO.
Mhm. Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions for Sean or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving Resolution 2023-19, Final Assessments for Middleton Springs Drive Reconstruction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Item number 2 is Resolution 2023-20, Streetlight Conversion to LEDs, Support for Grant Application.
This is Olson. I'll move approval.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll second that.
Great, thank you. Discussion.
I have a question.
Okay.
It says it's a 80-20 split and the applicant would be 20%. Do we have any idea about how much that would be? And would that be after our budget, we start working on the budget for next year? Would we hear back from what we received?
Okay, yeah, it's on. That I'm still working on because the prices of a lot of the LEDs that we're looking to get the grant for are very, very greatly in price. So I'm looking at writing the grant from anywhere from 120,000 to 400,000. I'm sure it won't be on the upper limit. It'll probably be closer to 200 and some thousand. So 20% match for that. I'm hoping that we could potentially use the money for the replacement of the LED streetlights downtown that's already budgeted for the match for this grant. But I'm not sure how the math is going to work out depending on what we've already ordered and how much money that project will actually cost.
The downtown project?
Yeah.
Because they are already ordered the lights for that. Do you know? We don't know.
I checked in with Tom Weber, our engineering tech who's running that for us. And he does have those on order, the 17 lights for
Right.
downtown. Yep, those are on order. And I think they were in the ballpark at $265 each.
Mhm.
So it's $4,400 of those. for-
By the time we heard back from this grant, whether we got it and for how much, would probably be time to put in a budget. Was that what you're thinking? Like, would it be this year you want to replace them all, or would we hear back in that timeframe?
Well, I called the grantor today and asked when they expect this stuff to actually get installed or done, and they said it could stretch over 2 or 3 years.
Oh.
But as far as ordering the actual lights, that may have to happen this year, in which case we would have to find the 20% match. But I'm not entirely certain about that. And then I also called Focus on Energy, and they said that they can stack their incentives onto this grant. So we would get a rebate of between $15 and $50 back for each bulb purchase. So that would be between $15,000 and $50,000 back from Focus on Energy. So I'm still furiously doing the math. You know, like if we do this, it'll be this. If we do this, it'll be this. But I don't foresee it being a massive dollar amount for the match, because I believe that replacing all the city-owned streetlights isn't going to be as expensive as I had originally thought it might be. So we wouldn't have to even ask for so much grant money for that.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I seen some of the public works, what the numbers were for those. It didn't seem like it was all that high. Is there any supply chain issues with this? Is that something we know about now? Because everybody's going to be doing that.
Yeah, I did ask them about that as well, because that's holding up a number of our projects, and it's on everyone's minds as grants are coming in, and even some of the grants we've just gotten in the last month everything's in question on the supply side. So
Order sooner than later and hope for
Yeah.
the best. Yep. Good.
So if it's $200,000 grant, then our match is $40,000. So Bill, if we have to come up with the $40,000, if it's before the next budget season, are you already looking at a place or a number of projects to see if we have anywhere close to that? Or are we going to have to take from contingency to make our match, or how are we going to do that if it isn't into the next budget season?
Yeah, I think we could do something similar to last year of looking at where we are for capital projects mid-year and make some mid-year allocations once projects are bid. And we have some updates from the couple of public works projects that are on the agenda tonight. So we'll probably have a transfer related to one of those. I don't have an answer for you tonight, but I think we can, within the capital projects amounts, look at something prior to starting next year's budget cycle and just move money. within
Okay, so
those
you're
projects.
comfortable then that there'll be some savings someplace else? Because as we all remember, we don't have much for contingency left.
Right.
Yep.
One thing to look at though is a $30,000 a year payback. That's going to cover a lot of that too. So it would be just
Well, I'm
have to
not,
initially
I'm
come
not
out with
dis-
the 40,000.
I'm not disputing
Yeah.
the validity of
Right,
the project. What I'm saying is, from a budgetary standpoint, we're gonna have to come up with the money somewhere,
right.
and we don't have much for contingency left anymore.
Right. I'll just throw in, you'll recall, we recently had to reject a bid for a pipelining project. And so that money is still allocated for pipelining, but it could be repurposed by the council. That was in the ballpark of $54,000.
And then Kelly, when you come back to us, look, assuming you'll get the grant, when you come back to us with the grant agreement, we'll have the budget by then.
Yes, I'll have to put together the budget by this Friday
Oh,
too.
okay.
So by this Friday, I will know what we're asking for and what the match would be
Okay.
exactly.
All right, great. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution 2023-20, streetlight conversion to LEDs, support for grant application, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Third item under resolutions is resolution 2023-21, amending the budget for senior center case management services.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
It's also second.
Thank you. All right, discussion. So on March 21st, we approved the increase in hours for one case manager from 20 to 25, and now we're asked to approve the budget amendment. All right. You see Tammy's on there, but hearing no questions. All those in favor of approving resolution 2023-21, amending the budget for senior center case management services, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to agreements and contracts. We have one. Amendment number 1 to engineering services agreement with SEH in an amount not to exceed $32,754.34 for construction phase services for Middleton Springs Drive reconstruction.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion.
Thank you. I'll second that. All right, discussion. I had mentioned to Bill during our pre-meeting meeting that this amendment has the same, I had brought this up on a previous amendment, the same unusual, unclear wording, I think, in the first paragraph, that this amendment is intended to be consistent with the consultant's proposal of July 16th with respect only to, when it really should be saying except with respect to these 3 things, because these are the 3 things that we're changing. So I know it was changed previously. I can't remember the agreement that this came up with, but I know the wording was changed. So I would just request, Larry, that this be modified again. And that Sean, if you have a template that you're using to.
We do.
I'm sorry, I'm apparently
Sure. No, no,
having
no.
trouble seeing it. Where is this language?
Bill's got it highlighted.
Page 7.
Yes, that same change is necessary.
Okay. All right, so that's good. I also saw in the memo a reference to the 3 replacement streetlights. I hope those will be LEDs. Okay, great. All right, any other comments or questions? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving amendment number 1 to engineering services agreement with SEH in an amount not to exceed $32,754.34 for construction phase services for Middleton Springs Drive reconstruction with the change to that opening paragraph that we just discussed, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Moving on to bids and quotes. We have 2. The first one is award of bid to Northwestern Stone in an amount not to exceed $332,438.60 for Middleton Springs Drive reconstruction.
This is Alder Kuhn. I'll make that motion to approve.
Thank you. I'll second it.
Bill, do you want to discuss the issue on this one?
Yeah, and so there was a question that we were taking a look at between John Salsky, Larry Beckler, and myself on the budget amount for this project and the amount of the construction contract. And based on the additional information provided by Sean, my understanding is that the amount of the award for the construction plus the engineering work would be within the budgeted amount. There are some streetlight replacements that are planned as part of this project that would not be done by the contractor, that would be done separately with the city working with MG&E. And the estimated additional costs, including that work, is about $10,000. So this is one of those items that we'd be looking at doing a transfer from another capital project to cover that streetlight improvement. But my understanding from Sean is that we could proceed with this contract and award the contract, which is within the budget, and then hold off on making that allocation before you finalize the streetlight replacements. Do I have that right, Sean?
So there's our pipelining.
Yeah, that's satisfactory to me. We just can't go and approve something which is beyond the budgeted amount without making provisions to cover the shortfall. And the way it is in the packet does not allow for fixing the shortfall.
And I think it might have been a little bit confusing. So of the $332,000 here, not some of it's water and sewer utility. So once we take that off the top, and then by the time we add on an estimated $15,000 for street lighting and add on an estimated $6,000 for material service testing in construction, we think we're going to be over by about $10,000. And we'll bring that back to the Finance Committee and Council for a future budget amendment to cover what we think is a projected shortfall.
I have a question about the math. And, okay, it says that the approved capital project budget is $350,000. And that's what it is in the approved budget. But that does not, it doesn't indicate in there that that's $350,000 of borrowing. And then we're going to get another $26,000 from the utilities. So technically, aren't we more like $36,000 over budget?
The water and sewer utilities have capital budget requests in their own funds, the 610 and the 620 funds for exactly this sort of thing. Main replacements coordinated with street projects.
But it's not identified in the budget, in the capital requests. It's not identified as linked to any particular project. It's more
I think
a
in
pool.
the detailed explanation, Dave typically says $150,000
For
for
this.
water. And part of that is for Middleton Springs Drive. Part of that is for, should be for, what's the next one on our agenda here? Elmwood Avenue. Resurfacing has some water work associated with it as well. And we used to, long ago, fund all of that out of the general capital budget and then have the utility pay back the general fund at the end of the year. But things got so expensive, we literally could not afford to continue doing that. So as bills come in from contractors, we're coding it to completely separate accounts.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the award of bid to Northwestern Stone in an amount not to exceed $332,438.60 for Middleton Springs Drive reconstruction, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it.
I thought we were going to defer this until we,
No, what we talked about, and I probably hadn't seen the last email, but between Sean and myself, but the amount of the contract plus the engineering services is within the budget amount. So we felt comfortable that we could act on this and execute the agreement within the budget. But prior to approving the street lighting replacement, that's when we would do the transfer at the future meeting.
okay, that's fine. It's just to be clear that the numbers in the memorandum of March 23rd are not what is being approved at this meeting tonight, which is fine. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, item number 2 is award of bid to Payne and Dolan in an amount not to exceed $613,589.10 for Elmwood Avenue resurfacing.
This is Olson. I'll make that motion with the note is to request that the Finance and Council allocate sufficient capital budget surplus to fund potential installation of traffic calming features on Elmwood if and when approved and contingent upon satisfaction of the city attorney.
This is Alder Keno, second that.
Thank you. And Bill, can you pull up, you have the wording of the whole motion? Is it in the memo by any chance?
I'm not sure which piece you're looking for. I do have the
The
memo.
part about the traffic calming?
Yeah, and I do have the memo for this project up, but is there another item that you're looking for?
No. It's just that Alder Olson made a motion to approve what's written on the agenda, but added, so there it is right there.
Yeah.
So that, if you'll highlight that, that's the motion.
Yep.
Okay, just want to make,
And I think there was a bit of an if when in there.
If
So if
and
you look
when
at the,
approved,
if you look
yes,
at the summary page in the council packets
Yeah,
where the
that's
staff
on here.
comments get carried over,
Yeah.
that's probably the,
okay, let's go to that,
reference.
because I want to make sure that we all see what we're voting on.
So you don't really know for sure at this time whether it will be needed and where and how much, right?
Much.
the discussion is ongoing. We don't have a design yet.
Okay, so it may or may not go in there, may not be needed.
Well, our intention is to follow the neighborhood traffic management program.
Which is in the
Process.
process now?
I'm sorry.
Which is in the process now?
Yes, exactly. We have some
Okay.
data. We still need to collect some data.
Okay, great.
Okay. Just need to highlight this.
And Sean, while you are there, why did we leave part of the Elmwood undone? Is it because, this is joke, Mike is living there, right in?
Oh, the little western part.
Yeah,
I think we just wanted a little bit of separate, number one, it was a budget thing, but number two, we wanted a little bit of separation from the downtown project for traffic flow reasons.
okay,
So part of the time, we're going to be using Elmwood Avenue as sort of a significant east-west route.
okay, so there's a very good reason for it, okay, all right.
I have a question. Is there going to be any new bike infrastructure? Because
Uh,
I get this comment all the time from constituents that biking in Middleton, they
Right.
want to see it improved.
There was talk and it kind of went back and forth a little bit about marking bike lanes, restricting parking on one side of the road and marking bike lanes. That's not a direction that we're pursuing right now.
It
Like
will
to
make
see-
a lot of people very unhappy, right?
And well, and it's easy to implement later. I mean, it would be
Yes,
moving some parking, adding some
Hmm.
no parking signs, putting some paint down. So, it's not contemplated as part of this project, but it could be done separately.
Okay, thank you. So Alder Kuhn.
Yeah, just so you know, I called with a request on that because eastern Elmwood towards the Madison border is rarely has parking on it. And when I would do doors month after month, for the last 3 rotations, I'd be the only car for a block and a half. And so there were comments that there was too much need for parking, but I think Elmwood is so different as you go down that street that the needs, there are definitely parking needs towards downtown, especially towards Park Street, even in the middle. But towards the Madison border is fairly open. And so they did say that if we came back and thought, and part of my reason was that University Avenue, I can't put a child on a bike on
Right.
University Avenue, but Elmwood is very safe and it's parallel. And so it's something we might want to think about later. So
I agree.
he said we could paint it, we could talk about it and
Or Hubbard. I prefer Hubbard to Elmwood, to tell you
Yeah.
the truth.
yeah, and they're all parallel. So, but we can look at that down the road.
Okay, great.
so Sean, you go up to Gateway, right? Then you leave a little bit on the other side too, or what's going, or are you going to the end of it?
That's a good question. I think this goes to Gateway.
So
Well,
then it
it
leaves
might-
one block again on the other side there.
I'd have to double check. I thought it goes to Gateway, but it might go to Countryside.
I think it's Gateway.
Okay, well, let's,
Rings a bell.
let's look into it. Then we will have just those 2 segments left there. So, well, especially there has to be very good reason for leaving that there. I didn't know why that was.
I'll have to look into that. I don't
Okay.
have
Okay,
a clear recollection of that.
okay.
One last question for you, Sean. So the memo on this indicates at the very end, contingent upon satisfaction of the city attorney. And I just want to make sure it's understood that it's the allocation of sufficient capital budget surplus to fund the potential installation of traffic calming measures that's contingent upon
Well,
Wondered
Esquire
about that
Beckler's
too.
approval.
that came from my draft of the minutes, and I believe that was introduced by the Public Works Committee. But I'm not certain it really needs city attorney as much as finance and common council
Okay.
direction.
I didn't see anything.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to award bid to Payne and Dolan in an amount not to exceed $613,589.10 for Elmwood Avenue resurfacing. And the allocation of any capital budget surplus to fund installation of traffic calming features when approved,
If and when.
if and when, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. I need a motion to convene into closed session.
So moved. Olson.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll convene into closed session.
Oh. that building has been around so forever. Ooh,